So what's up guys, hope you guys are all doing well. So the main agenda for today's video is I'm going to be talking to you guys about if it's worth it to go K-swap or not. So let's get right into it. So as you guys can tell, this is my 1996 Honda Civic hatchback with a K24A swap from a JDM TSX. So there's a lot of different swaps you can put into these cars. You can go B series, you can go J series, you can stay D series for if anything, and do a turbo setup. And there's a lot of different setups you can do on this car. You can make it all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, or stay true and keep it front-wheel drive. But I decided to go K, and the reason of that is I was indecisive of 3 different setups. I was thinking of keeping the D series that was in this car and just building the motor and going turbo. And the reason I didn't go that route is because I wasn't gonna be able to keep AC, and AC down where I live is a really big thing, because it may not look like it out here, but it's I think 103 degrees right now in the summertime. It's somewhere around 100. It's 101 degrees, and it sucks having to roll the windows down. So I couldn't find a manifold. If you guys know, on the D series, the manifold for the exhaust is in the front. It's the opposite of the K series, and the turbo sits on this side, which is where the AC compressor is. And I couldn't find a manifold that was capable of running with AC, so I didn't end up going that route. So my next option was going B series, and B series, it wasn't too bad an option. The only reason I decided to not go B series is parts were just getting very expensive for B series. Like, it's very hard to find I was thinking of going B18 with a VTEC head or something along those lines. And weirdly enough, it's really hard to find stuff like that anymore. I don't know if it's because of where I live or something like that, but the easiest swap for me to do would be a B20 swap, and I wanted VTEC, so I didn't go that route. And I didn't want to mess with going turbo on a B20, because I know those aren't known to hold. And there's one more swap I think I forgot to mention. I was also considering going H series, but if I'm being honest, I could not find any parts for H series, so it's sort of in the same realm as B, but I think H is definitely a lot harder to find parts for. So I decided to go K, and I feel like that was the best route for me, because these are the motors that I know the most, and they're pretty future proof. There's a lot of cars that come with K series and you're able to swap parts like almost nothing. Like, this is from a HNSI. Almost all the accessories on this car are from a HNSI, and the long block is from a TSX. And you can do that also with RSX parts, TSX parts, whatever really. Also, another reason I decided to go K is for future upgradability. Like, the car is probably making somewhere around 200, 220, not 220, 210 to the wheels, and that's plenty for me right now. And on this car, there's obviously room to grow. I could end up going turbo, supercharging it, making it all-wheel drive, but all of that costs money, and that's the reason I didn't go that route. And I'm just keeping it the setup it is for now. Maybe go E85 RSX oil pump, as well as the 50-degree VTC, and I think that should be perfect. Maybe throw in a set of cams, and I think the car should be golden for another year or two. And I may decide to go turbo, but I honestly really doubt it on this car. that may be the route for the RSX, but definitely not this one. So as for if it's worth it to go K, I would say yes in my personal opinion, just for the future upgradability, and then just the out of box performance that you get with these motors. I think it's almost second to none. You could get this from an H series or maybe a B series if it has a VTEC head, but I feel like, in my personal opinion, nothing really compares to K series. A lot of people will disagree with me on that, but that's my personal opinion. As well as these cars, not these cars, but these motors have been known to hold over 600-700 horsepower, and I don't know of any B series or any H series that does that, but these motors can, and that's the reason I personally picked it. It was definitely a little expensive route. The way I pieced this whole swap together myself. I did not get a donor car or anything like that. I bought the engine, transmission, flywheel, clutch, all separate. So that's definitely the expensive route. I think I spent somewhere around ballpark $7,000 on this. But if you buy a donor RSX, which is what you'd be able to use almost all the parts from, I think all you'd really have to do is, if you bought a donor RSX, is make fuel lines and a subframe from a EG or Integra, and control arms and K-swap mounts, as well as axles, unless it's from a base model, because you're able to use base model axles on these cars if it's 32 millimeter, if you have 32 millimeter hubs. If you have 36 millimeters, I would use RSX Type S. And I think some people use one of the drive shafts. I think the passenger drive shaft, they use HNSI or EP3, something along those lines. Don't quote me, because I'm not all too sure about that. However, do not get me wrong, any swap in these older Hondas would be a great swap. As I said already, B series, H series, J series, they're all amazing swaps. Don't get me wrong, but I personally feel that K series is superior, but I still obviously enjoy every other Honda series. But this is just my take on it. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are gonna be wanting to know how much it cost me to go K series, so I'm gonna try to pull out the calculator on my phone and calculate the big things. I'm obviously gonna miss some of the small things. Something I forgot to mention is all the small stuff, like the bolts for to hold all the clutch on, like the pressure plate bolts, the flywheel bolts, yeah, the thermostat, small stuff like that. It all adds up in nickels and dimes, and it gets really expensive, and that's some of the parts I really don't try to calculate, because that's what adds up to the higher price. But yeah, I don't think I mentioned that part in the video, but I'm gonna try to get close to how much it cost me to go K. And so to start off, the engine was $1,220 from H Motors, and so I'll add that. And then I bought the transmission from a friend for $500, which is honestly pretty cheap. I think online these SI transmissions sell from $1,000 to like $1,500 or something like that, and I got mine for $500. I bought the flywheel for I think it was $250, as well as the clutch for $170, so I'll just call that $400. And so we're at $2,120. I bought the accessories for I think $160, which I'm pretty sure if you get them from a junkyard, you can get them pretty cheap. And if you guys don't know which accessories I'm talking about the water pump housing, the idler pulley, the tensioner, the alternator, and the AC compressor. I got that all from a friend, the same friend I got the transmission from actually, and bought the header, the eBay header for $250, and I bought the RBC for $180 from a friend, so $27. I bought the harness. The harness is an EP3 harness for $350, and I bought the conversion harness for $140 from Finetric, and we're up to $3,200. And I bought the mounts for $200. Bought the K-Pro V4 for $1,200, and so that's $4,600. And I'm not sure exactly how much I bought the fuel system for. I bought the fuel pressure regulator for I think $100, and then the AN lines as well as fittings for maybe another $100 with the fuel filter, so I guess we'll call that $200, so $4,800. And I'm not all too sure about everything else. If you guys want a complete breakdown video of the whole setup, like the whole case swap and everything and the price of everything, just let me know and I'll try to get that out to you. The reason I haven't done it is, I'm not gonna lie, when I'm calculating numbers it sort of confuses me, and that's why I haven't done it. But yeah, just let me know if you guys want a video like that, and I'll get that out for y'all. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are gonna be wanting to know how much it cost me to go K-Series, so I'm gonna try to pull out the calculator on my phone and calculate the big things. I'm obviously gonna miss some of the small things, but I'm gonna try to get close to how much it cost me to go K. And so to start off, the engine was $1,220 from H Motors, and so I'll add that. And then I bought the transmission from a friend for $500, which is honestly pretty cheap. I think online these SI transmissions sell from $1,000 to like $1,500 or something like that, and I got mine for $500. I bought the flywheel for I think it was $250, as well as the clutch for $170, so I'll just call that $400. And so we're at $2,120. I bought the accessories for I think $160, which I'm pretty sure if you get them from a junkyard you can get them pretty cheap. And if you guys don't know which accessories I'm talking about the water pump housing, the idler pulley, the tensioner, the alternator, and the AC compressor. I got that all from a friend, the same friend I got the transmission from actually, and bought the header, the eBay header for $250, and I bought the RBC for $180 from a friend, so $27. I bought the harness. The harness is an EP3 harness for $350, and I bought the conversion harness for $140 from Finetric, and we're up to $3,200. And I bought the mounts for $200. Bought the K-Pro V4 for $1,200, and so that's $4,600. And I'm not sure exactly how much I bought the fuel system for. I bought the fuel pressure regulator for I think $100, and then the AN lines as well as fittings for maybe another 100 with the fuel filter. So I guess we'll call that 200. So $4,800. And I'm not all too sure about everything else. There's a lot of miscellaneous costs like the slave cylinder, all the AC lines and stuff like that, the radiator, there's a VSS converter, because this is the high frequency VSS in the front on the 02 to 04, which is what the K-swaps normally go off of. It's in the back, and I think that was maybe $160 or $200, something like that. So if you guys haven't seen already, the money adds up really quick doing a swap like this. We're already at $4,800, but that would get you close to a running car. Obviously you still need a full exhaust and small miscellaneous stuff, but for the most part nowadays it's not too hard, especially if you're getting a donor car, to do these swaps. And I would 100% recommend it over B series, only for the fact that it's not too hard to find these motors. Like you could find this, not this motor, but you could find a K24 A4 in the junkyard from an older Accord and pull one of those. But for the most part, these swaps aren't too hard to do, and I would recommend them if you have the time and patience to do it, because a swap like this does take a lot of patience. And yeah, that's really it for today's video. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you could drop a comment below and I'll try to get back to you, or you can DM me on Instagram or TikTok, whichever you prefer, and I'll get back to you.